All right, welcome to News About Geology. Today, we are diving into something huge, literally one of the most powerful forces on our entire planet, megathrust earthquakes. But we're not just going to talk about the geology. We're going to look at how we, as humans, actually prepare for something this big. And we'll use the Cascadia subduction zone as our case study, a real-world threat that's, well, just waiting to happen. So let's get into it. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start big with Earth's most powerful quakes. Then we'll zoom in on Cascadia's sleeping giant. After that, we'll see what that means for a city under stress. Then we'll look at the strategy for survival. And finally, the long path to recovery. All right, first up, Earth's most powerful quakes. We've got to wrap our heads around the planetary scale of this stuff, because before we can even talk about one city or one region, you have to understand the incredible, awesome power we are dealing with here. So what in the world is a megathrust earthquake? Well, it all comes down to plate tectonics, right? Picture this. You've got these massive tectonic plates, and at what's called a subduction zone, one plate is literally being forced down underneath another one. Now, the place where they meet, that's a massive fault line. We're talking hundreds, even 1,000 kilometers long. And they don't just slide past each other smoothly. Nope, they get stuck. Friction locks them together. And for centuries, the stress just builds and builds and builds. And then, when it finally lets go, that is when you get the most powerful earthquakes our planet can produce. And when I say powerful, I am not kidding. We are talking about earthquakes with a moment magnitude of 9.0 or even higher. I mean, think about this. Since the year 1900, every single earthquake that hit 9.0 or above was a megathrust event. Every single one. These things are absolutely in a league of their own. And you can see their fingerprints all over history. Just think about the 1964 Alaska earthquake, a massive 9.2, the biggest ever recorded in North America. Or more recently, the 2011 Tohoku quake in Japan, a 9.1 that caused that absolutely devastating tsunami. And then there's the one we're really zeroing in on today, the Cascadia earthquake, back in 1700. We know it happened because of the clues left in the ground, and even from tsunami records found all the way over in Japan. It's some incredible geological detective work. Okay, so let's bring this whole global idea right back home to a very specific threat. We're talking about Cascadia's sleeping giant. This thing is lurking right off the Pacific coast of North America. This fault is an absolute monster. It stretches for about 1,000 kilometers, all the way from Northern California up to Vancouver Island. What's happening here is the Juan de Fuca plate, that's an oceanic plate, is constantly trying to slide underneath the North American plate. Now, the last time this whole thing let loose in one giant rupture was way back in 1700, January 26 to be exact. And since then, it's been quiet. Eerily quiet. And all that means is that for over 300 years, the stress has just been winding up, tighter and tighter. Now, here's something really important to get. While everyone talks about the M9 megathrust, the big one, it's not the only game in town. The region actually faces two other types of serious quakes. You've got these deep magnitude 7 intraslab quakes, which happen down in the subducting plate. But then you also have these shallower, magnitude 7.2 crustal quakes, happening right in the continental plate we live on. And because they're so much closer to the surface and to our cities, they can be incredibly destructive on a local level. In fact, that's the scenario we're going to use to really understand the human impact. So this brings us to the real-world impact, the city under stress. What does all this geological tension actually mean for the millions of people living on top of it? Let's try to visualize it by looking at what a major M7.2 crustal quake could do to a city like Vancouver. Okay, get ready because the numbers here are pretty staggering. In that M7.2 scenario, the models project that around 6,100 buildings would be heavily damaged. Just let that sink in for a second. Over 6,000 buildings. These are homes, offices, schools, places where people live their lives just severely damaged or worse. And of course, it's not just about the buildings. The human cost is just brutal. The same scenario projects more than 1,350 people killed or severely injured. And on top of that, another 6,500 people would need hospital care. Can you even imagine the strain on hospitals and first responders? It would be completely overwhelming instantly. And here's the thing you really have to understand. The earthquake itself, the shaking, that's just the start. That's the first domino to fall. What comes next is a whole series of cascading failures. It's a chain reaction. Buildings are damaged, sure, but then transportation grinds to a halt. Bridges down, roads blocked. Utilities are gone. Power lines snap, gas lines break and cause fires. Communication networks just get swamped and go down. And suddenly, the supply chains we all depend on for food, for water, for medicine, they're broken. Everything stops working all at once. All of that damage leads to something called cordoning, which is a concept a lot of people haven't really thought about. This quote from a City of Vancouver report lays it out pretty clearly. Areas where tons of damage are just closed off. You can't get in. And not just for a few days, we're talking weeks, months, or, get this, even years. So think about that. Your home or business might be perfectly fine, totally undamaged. But if it's inside one of these cordon zones, you might not be able to get back to it for a very, very long time. Okay, I know that's a really bleak picture. It's a lot. But the story absolutely does not end there. So let's pivot now from the disaster itself to the solution. Let's talk about the incredible human ingenuity and planning that goes into managing this kind of chaos. This is the strategy for survival. In a crisis of this magnitude, you can't just wing it. You need a rock-solid plan, and British Columbia has one, with 5 clear objectives right out of the gate. Number 1, figure out what the heck is going on everywhere. That's situational awareness. Number 2, get help to people, fast. We're talking humanitarian aid, food, water, shelter. Number 3, start the massive job of restoring critical infrastructure. 4, keep the public in the loop with good information. And 5, start setting the stage for long-term recovery. It's a really methodical, step-by-step way to tackle something that seems totally chaotic. And believe me, this is not a one-person job. It truly takes a whole-of-society effort. This table here just gives you a small taste of it. You've got the Ministry of Transportation trying to get roads and railways back online. The Ministry of Health is coordinating all the patient care. Public Safety has the very grim task of activating the mass fatality plan. You've got the Canadian Armed Forces stepping in with people and heavy equipment. And, this is so important, First Nations organizations are woven into the plan from the very beginning to make sure their communities are supported. It's this massive, coordinated dance. I mean, it's just an incredible mobilization of people, isn't it? And this kind of planning, this human side of geology, is just so fascinating. You know, if you enjoy these kinds of exciting and frankly more positive discussions about geology, I'd love for you to check out my YouTube channel, PGO Ricardo Valls. But for now, let's get back to it. What happens after that initial frantic response is over? All right, on to our final section, the path to recovery. Because that immediate response, that's all about survival. But what comes next? Well, that's the long, hard road to recovery. And it's about so much more than just putting buildings back up. It's about rebuilding with resilience. You see, real recovery isn't just about concrete and steel. This diagram of the 4 pillars really captures the idea. It's a balancing act. You have to take care of the people and the communities. We're talking physical and mental health. At the same time, you've got to rebuild the economy. You have to think about the environment, and you have to repair and upgrade the infrastructure. You can't just focus on one. All 4 of these pillars have to rise up together. And this official definition of recovery really hits the nail on the head. Look at the keywords here. It's not just about getting back to the way things were. It's about reestablishing well-being through measures that reduce vulnerability and enhance resilience. That's the whole point. The goal isn't just to rebuild, it's to build back better, smarter, and a whole lot stronger for the next time. And really, that brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? We live on this incredible, dynamic planet. We literally can't stop the tectonic plates from moving. The geology is, well, it's inevitable. So the real question for all of us isn't if the next big one is going to happen. The question is, how do we choose to live with that reality? How do we, as individuals, as communities, as a society, how do we choose to be resilient? I really hope this deep dive gave you a better feel for both the massive challenge these events pose, but also the incredible human planning that goes into facing them. If you want to keep exploring our amazing planet with me, please do head over to my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching News About Geology.